Welcome back to Counter Narrative News. Today is the 5th of January 2023 and we bring you the daily news. In India, the Supreme Court has pushed back on the BJP authorities' attempts and plans to use physical and violent means to expel some 50,000 residents from the Himalayan Uttarakhand state and town of Haldwani. Some 5,000 residences next to a railway station were planned by the authorities to be moved by force, but the Supreme Court has put a halt to that and argued that this is a quote-unquote human issue that should be handled with some care and on a case-to-case basis. This all reflects the global trajectory towards the far right, away from notions of secularism and unity and universal rights of the oppressed to a more bigoted, racist, xenophobic, and one that plays perfectly into the politics of colonial partition, and specifically the British partition politics emanating from 1947 British partition of the subcontinent. Across a few borders to the north in Afghanistan, the Taliban authorities there, the Taliban government, has claimed that it's pushing back against ISIL or Daesh violent attacks in the country. But also there is some joint enterprise between the two movements. And this is all a bit of a farcical situation when we remember that Osama bin Laden was relaxing in a middle-class gated community in Uttarakhand in Pakistan, and also the second leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman Zawahiri, just last year was killed again in the diplomatic area of Kabul, both of which point to a deep collusion between British and the US state on the one hand, and its relationship of collusion to these supremacist forces in Afghanistan and throughout the Muslim world. Going to the Americas, President Biden has successfully got Mexican President Obrador to agree to take 30,000 human beings who attempt to cross the Mexican-US border into the US without quote-unquote proper documentation. These people include mostly Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Haitians. It's very disappointing that President Obrador from Mexico has made this agreement as he postures to the left and liberal progressive politics. The issue of global migration and migration flows and the people trafficking and the rape, enslavement, and exploitation that comes with that is perhaps one of the central issues for humanity today, in which these people who are in these migrant flows have no leadership and have no real advocacy. President Erdogan, who is also a leading member of the NATO Western military coalition, has said that he is willing to accept the Russian brokered talks with Syrian Assad, by whom he has been in a more than 10-year war with, including occupying Syrian territories, including the major city of Idlib. It's a bit strange, having conducted all this bloodshed for a decade, that now they want to sit down and talk to each other. Perhaps we should also reflect that President Erdogan did directly facilitate some tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of Daesh fighters and other similar people joining similar groups into Syria since 2011. Going to the Sahel region again in Africa, the Malian authorities have arrested some 46 soldiers from the Ivory Coast who they accused of being quote-unquote mercenaries for the United Nations mission there. The regional body in West Africa, ECOWAS, was about to put sanctions onto Mali for this action. However, they've held back and have allowed the regional state of Togo to continue trying to broker a resolution to that. All the destabilization and the conflicts that we see across the Sahel region really escalated exponentially after the NATO destruction of Libya, which really was the people-centered, relatively people-centered security linchpin that created stability across the Sahara and Sahel regions before 2011. Going to Paris, the Kurdish community in Paris has concluded their funerals for 3 of their members involved in the political advocacy for Kurdish resistance and freedom, who were shot dead by a racist just a few weeks ago, which sparked Kurdish grassroots resistance for over several days fighting back police. Back in January 2013, 3 women at a Kurdish cultural center were killed by a Turkish national, making many people in the Kurdish community point the finger at Turkish intelligence services, and they're doing similarly now in the case of this massacre. In more domestic news, the now famous media celebrity and arguably household name, someone from the Brixton grassroots in South London, Big Narstie, has commented on a flagship TV programme on the BBC that the Tory government and other people representing the most richest elements of the ruling class have no right to comment on what working class people are going through, because they have no clue whatsoever as to the conditions of working class families and have never lived like them. His comments on this show has created a deep swell of sympathy and support and pride from those grassroots themselves and those in support of him. Also, Big Narstie very recently interviewed Benjamin Zephaniah on his own program. Benjamin Zephaniah comes from the black and brown grassroots, working class grassroots that is, from the Birmingham ghetto town of Handsworth. Benjamin Zephaniah was very much part of the Handsworth resistance, and Big Narstie asked Benjamin Zephaniah why he rejected the Order of the British Empire award from the now deceased Queen Elizabeth II. Zephaniah argued that he has struggled against empire, colonialism and slavery all his life, and why would he now accept this Order of the British Empire? No thanks, he would not. Thank you for those who have liked, subscribed and shared and commented. Please do continue to do so. Thank you.